you and I, to vote for their party for the municipal, that's the local election on the 27th of October. I think it's significant. By the way, the EFF has always said they should postpone it for 2 years down the line. So I'm sure you have views on that. Let's try and make sense of the actual election announcement and what that really means with Lulu White. Lulu is the CEO of Elections Management Consulting Agency South Africa. Lulu, good morning and I appreciate your time.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Right. So the date, I mean, normally elections are municipal elections or even general are sort of mid-year. Any surprises that it's as late in the year as it's been put out?
No, it's not really a surprise. What basically happens with an election is that they have to take place within 90 days after the first council of the previous local government election. And if I'm not mistaken, the first council was in August, I think the 8th of August in 2016. Therefore, if August was the first council, August, September, October, so October becomes, it's within that particular 90-day period that it's expected to have taken place within. So the timing is actually quite correct because it actually is within the ambit as set out by the Constitution and the Municipal Structures Act.
Okay, the line's breaking up slightly. We can hear you. Hopefully, you'll get even better in a moment, right? What do you make of? Well, I put this question that we know why we need a municipal election. Absolutely, it's our right to vote for parties every 5 years, that whether it's national or local. But in this peculiar circumstances of a COVID life that we're leading right now, right? Would we actually have a free and fair local election? I mean, would the political parties be allowed to canvass without being prejudiced because of the environment that they're going to have to do so?
Look, the conditions for the COVID conditions have actually forcing political parties to think creatively about the election strategies from now on moving forward. I do not think that they would be prejudiced, and I'll tell you the reason why. First of all, these are local government elections, and generally people have to campaign in a particular constituency or a particular locality or a particular branch. And if political parties can actually start their campaign preparations right now and they localize it and they contain their figures, then they're going to be able to maximize on whatever it is that they need to be doing in terms of their campaign strategies. Only difference now is that they will not be able to go to a larger stadium where they're going to be able to do that. But previously, they only needed to do that for national and provincial elections. But for local government elections, it's pretty much within their localities, so it's just a matter of them really connecting on a much deeper level with their ground root forces than they previously had to. There's also the issue of social media. Social media, now we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram. There's a lot of other ways that political parties can actually engage with their audiences. And, in my view is that the more creative they get, the more they're going to get leverage out of campaign strategies than they would have had to in the previous times. Yes, that we're down to level 1 in terms of COVID regulations, and they can still have minimum interactions with people in terms of door-to-door campaigning, in terms of blitzing at certain municipalities and in certain corners. So it would still work to their advantage. It's all about timing. They just need to time the elections campaigns in such a way that they start now, so that come October, they've got a lot of leverage that they've gained from it.
Yeah. Okay. I think you make an important point that, in fact, local elections are sort of canvassed at local level, right? But I mean, and I understand that you don't know, and I don't know what's going to happen with regard to COVID issues in the next few months. I mean, as it stands, it would be 250 people in a hall maximum, which is a reasonably good size, I would think, right? But not more than that. Others outside. But having said that, would you think that smaller parties still maybe prejudiced? Because we often talk about the digital divide, that access to technology and access to the resources that gives you the technology becomes problematic. So certain parties, the bigger ones, certainly have a lot more money and therefore can mobilize even on social media in a far bigger way than the other parties.
Look. History has actually proven that smaller political parties tend to do well during local government elections, and they would in national and provincial elections. And the reason for that is because their market is much smaller. Right, so they're contained within a particular place. I mean, you can appreciate that with local government elections, political parties can actually contest a particular municipality. I think in the previous regulations, it was to 2,000 bed in a municipality. So if a smaller political parties are likely to gain a lot more out of these local government elections than they would have in the national and provincial elections.
Okay.
But once again,
EFF is a good example, right? Where the EFF historically has performed better on Twitter than the actual polls. I mean, that's they're not the smallest party, but I mean, I get your point. Do you therefore see, could this be the first of the genuine social media elections?
Absolutely. This could be the first of the first genuine social media elections. But obviously political parties also, because what we've picked up at MK is that a lot of political parties seem to panter with the same message over and over again. And professional services such as my company, for example, are often, not taken into consideration. Political parties need to be able to have their own identity. They need to hone their own identity and campaign based on their own identity. The EFF's identity was very separate. They said economic freedom. The ANC's identity is separate. It says service delivery. The DA's identity stands against corruption. But what do all these other smaller political parties contest with? So that's another thing. Smaller political parties need to be able to set themselves apart from everybody else, pick a message, stick with the message, and let people recognize them with that particular message. And for them to be able to do that effectively, social media will be their best bet.
Okay, the first social media local or first election, social media election in South Africa. We'll see that happen. Appreciate your time, Lulu. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, Ashraf.
Here we are, Lulu White, CEO of the Elections Management Consulting Agency SA. With that take, so you know that now, 27th of October is the day you're going to be asked to vote. And I'm asking that question even to you, that are we in a situation now that because we're operating in a COVID environment, that will some parties be prejudiced in terms of, or disadvantaged really, in terms of being able to convince you and I to vote for them or not? I mean, just something to consider. How big, how much currency do you actually give to the local election? In fact, if you ask me, absolutely, because that's the one that deals with the day-to-day issues that runs your particular suburb, I can tell you. So you should take an interest in that. Let's find out more about it. We get another take on it right after this.
Looking to get your kick? Kiki's have now reopened on 235 Matthews Maiwa Road in Durban. Head on over for the Taste with Kick. We offer something scrumptious for everyone in the family. Wraps, chicken tikka, burgers, tender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the Taste with Kick.
What makes Randery Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our range of exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewellery? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewellery needs? We believe it's because at Randery Jewelers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Randery Jewelers to make it special. www.randeryjewelers.com. Make your moments last forever with Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Ishmael, weren't you supposed to be in Umrah? No, man. With this new visa issues, I can't go every year. Yeah, I know. And now my wife, she on my case. She wants the Madina Kajur, Zamzam, Kawa, Dukkha. You know, all the Suhur and Iftar stuff. I'm telling her, forget all that this year. What are you stressing about? Find everything at IG Hussein. Leave Ramadan shopping. You can also do all your Eid shopping one time. They got a wide range of Saudi and Dubai Islamic wear for the whole family. Eid gifting cannot get any easier. They have a wide range of perfumes, musalas, frames, and kiddies' educational toys, and much more. What? Are you serious? Ramadan and Eid shopping under one roof? Yeah, man. Now you can tell the wife no more excuses for not having homemade savories. Oh, what savories? More time for her ibadat, not for making savories. IG Hussein, Overport branch, open every Sunday and public holiday. IG Hussein, your Islamic lifestyle.
The Ashraf Garda Show, 8 to 10 a.m. on Salam Media.
Right, so Andre Duvenacher, rather, is a political professor or politics professor at Northwest University, the Potch campus. Lots of insights from that region and more, of course. We have him with us to get another take on this municipal election, certainly for the political parties. Prof. Duvenaka, appreciate your time. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice talking to you.
Absolutely. So now we have an election date, right? I'll just preface this by saying that I am aware that the EFF were hoping that this whole election be postponed for another 2 more years. It should have happened last year, right? So even at this early stage, potentially big winners, big losers for this election?
I think if we look at the political spectrum of parties, there's a lot going on in basically all parties. The ANC is facing one of its biggest internal crises since 1994, probably in some ways comparable to the Coke thing and the EFF thing. Some people argue it may even be worse than that. So the ANC has its own challenges. When it comes to the Democratic Alliance, they underperformed in the 2019 elections. There are now again a lot of trouble with qualifications and black candidates and so on and so on. So the DA doesn't seem that solid. And talking about the EFF in the last local elections, by-elections, I think it was November, when we had that big by-elections basically on a national basis, they didn't win a single seat.
Yeah.
We know about the VBS bank case. We know that the COVID line doesn't promote their strategy of mobilizing support, intimidating, misusing rules, etc., etc. So I can understand their concerns in this regard. But in many ways, it is positive. I think in a way we can also argue that the COVID environment can promote free and fair elections, or at least the principle of free and fair elections.
Okay, interesting you say so. I'll tell you why, because one of the questions we've been asking, in fact, is will political parties be disadvantaged canvassing in a COVID-linked terrain?
I think in a way they may be disadvantaged, as I said, that they cannot go in the open, huge gatherings aren't allowed. The whole thing of mass mobilization is not possible. But on the other side, democracy is not about the party and party activities. It's more important to create an environment that is free and fair, where voters can go and vote. And I think the COVID restrictions can promote freeness and fairness, can in a way ensure lack of intimidation. And in that sense, there's also a positive side to this coin I like to mention. But when it comes to specifically populist parties and the way they strategize and operate in terms of the organization and mobilization of support, this may be to their disadvantage.
Yeah, interesting you say that, because I mean, on the same basis, some political parties are not social media savvy, so less technically savvy. Wouldn't they be disadvantaged? I mean, it does come at a cost if you actually are getting, as some allege, that some political parties have these bots that actually do their work for them.
Yes, there's no doubt that the whole virtual environment, the technological type of environment, is to the advantage of certain parties and the disadvantage of other parties. I think, for example, that the Democratic Alliance in the past was very strong on this strategy. But now again, I remember when COVID started, the EFF bragged that they had their new system going and that they had more than 1 million followers. And in that sense, they are also operating on that level. But it seems as if that initiative has lost momentum. I think definitely it will be to the advantage of the stronger, bigger parties. At the same time, we know that the ANC is in trouble, Lulu House is in trouble, and their whole virtual promotion of the party, their websites and so on, are in trouble at the moment. And how all of this will impact on an already election that is already many question marks about will be very, very interesting. There's a lot of dynamics playing out simultaneously, and I think we are going to see a very, very interesting outcome.
And I'm sure lots of conversations about who, what, when, where, why, all the way up to October 27 and beyond. But for now, here's the last thing, right? Do you think that this election, and I'll stress it's a local election, but will it be contested on national lines? That means in terms of people understanding or being partisan with the national party. National party is just the wrong word for this conversation. You'll understand why. Or will it be completely at a local level in terms of what that person or candidate or party can do for me?
Well, I think it will be both. Without any doubt, parties has a national presence and people has historical connections to the national identity of political parties like the ANC, like the EFF, like the Democratic Alliance, Freedom Front Plus, etc., etc. But at the same time, I believe that local issues will be more important than was the case in the past, specifically because 80 to 90% of all municipalities are in a way dysfunctional. And I am expecting that people are going to vote away from party lines this time, probably supporting groups like the taxpayers associations and groups that are not contaminated by politics of, let's say, state capture or corruption or racism or whatever the connection may be. But the national identities will be there, but I think it will be qualified in a stronger way this time by local issues that will be more prominent.
Okay, let's see if you're right. Appreciate your time, Professor Andre Duvenage, politics professor at the Northwest University. Now, first salvo for the elections. Could it be the first genuine social media election in South Africa? In fact, that's what Donald Trump suggested, what happened in the US election. So I don't know. So what do you think? I mean, do you think political parties will be prejudiced or disadvantaged being asked to canvass in a COVID restricted environment? It's certainly going to be very different, and I want to get your thoughts on this one. So if you have opinions, whatever the opinion is, yes, no, WhatsApp me, which is great, text or voice notes, 061 766 0355. But you can also call in short, sharp calls, please, 011 680 0355. By the way, tell me as well where you are listening from, because you know what we do with this show. We listen all around. We first of all, we connect Salam Media, which is online around the country. Then we connect with listeners from Radio Al Ansar, so the Durban region listening right now. Thumbs up to you. Beyond that, we also connect with One Nation FM out in the regions, and then for about 10 minutes every day, in about 10 minutes time, we'll be connecting with Voice of the Cape. So all of that happens, which means I don't quite know where you are. So tell me where you are, suburb, not just city, exactly where you are, so I understand. So if you, for example, in Lenasia, say extension 7 Lenasia, so I can get it. I'm assuming Lenasia is a city. You get my point. Something along that line. Right. CPI, Consumer Price Index. Why should that matter to you? We'll talk about it in a moment.
This is the Ashraf Garda Show, 8 to 10 a.m. And you're listening to Salam Media.
Okay, so one thing we all look at is the issue of